Hi, I'm Trae Dorn. Welcome to the Off Week, and this episode we are talking about Pacific Rim Uprising. That's right, the long-awaited sequel to Pacific Rim came out this last weekend, and it was a movie. It was a movie.
Whoa!
I went in with pretty medium expectations, because obviously without visionary director Guillermo del Toro, and we're required to say visionary in front of Guillermo del Toro, visionary director Guillermo del Toro made the first one, and while it was in many regards a basic, giant robot fight giant monster movie, it had a lot of visual style, and storytelling was phenomenal, and it was just overall a great film. And so when Pacific Rim 2 was first announced, he was supposed to be helming it, but long series of events, including the film sort of getting canceled, sort of getting suspended, then getting greenlit again when Del Toro was already busy doing things that, won him an Oscar or two. The film had to happen without him. I was not expecting really anything of quality or of note, and was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't a terrible movie. I actually enjoyed it. Now, it's far from perfect. I have a lot of criticisms, and we'll get that into that in a minute. But I want to say, it obviously isn't as good as the first one, but it's actually good. I'd take it over any of the Transformers movies for sure, and as an action blockbuster it holds its own. So the acting is good, the storyline actually works, and everything I expected to pay off did. So if you like the first Pacific Rim and you haven't seen Pacific Rim Uprising yet, you should watch it, but understand this is not going to be as good a film. And now we're going to get into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, understand that I have that the negative part of this is going to involve minor spoilers. I'm going to try to keep it spoiler free, but I might slip. The first thing I'm going to say is not a spoiler, and that is just I think the first third of the movie is not exactly paced perfectly. I know it's a 2-hour movie, but I feel like 10 more minutes with these characters in the beginning would have paid amazing dividends for the film as a whole. There are just a couple of scene transitions that just feel like I'm watching the TV edit. I don't know. There's just really rapid fire, and there's sometimes a scene's not allowed to settle before they cut to the next. I'd say the second half of the first third, if that makes sense. And I understand why. I understand that you want to get to the giant robots punching things as soon as possible in the film, and that's my biggest structural complaint. I have other minor nitpicky complaints, and that is the use of the Makomori character. She's just underused, and the way she is handled in the film, it's not good. One thing that the film has going against it, that the first Pacific Rim was had a very visually distinctive style. There's a lot at night. There's a very neon tinge to it. It felt there's almost a cyberpunk vibe to it that you lose in the second movie, because Pacific Rim Uprising, almost all these fights are in broad daylight in Pacific Rim 2, and everything is really well lit. Overall, the fight scenes aren't bad. The fight scenes are pretty good. They're very easy to follow. The stakes feel real, but it's not as visually interesting as the first movie on any level. And I guess, you remove Guillermo del Toro from a film, and that's what happens. I want to say a few more good things that might be a little more spoilery. There is a twist in this film that actually... So, normally when my wife and I go see movies, I will often pick up on things before she does. But in this case, she picked up on that twist immediately, and I did not see it coming. But it is in many... It is a good twist. It's not just like a surprise out of nowhere thing. It is very well, like, the seeds are all left in the story. That's the one thing I will say is nice about this film is that I always fear that I might pick up on something. If it's a bad movie, if I pick up on something that feels important and then it turns out not to be, that didn't happen here. Everything that felt important ended up being important. So yeah, it's not perfect, but there's some characters who feel severely underdeveloped. But all in all, the main characters, their motivation works. So yeah, go out and see it. Whoa! I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. But it's going to be a movie that you walk out of going, oh, thank God they didn't ruin Pacific Rim. They didn't. They didn't ruin it. They didn't step up and do something better, but they didn't ruin it. It's fun. It's fun and doesn't take anything away from the first movie. So take comfort in that. I'm going to go now.